got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If you wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed 'em. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
Oh, that looks like a nice pour. Hey, welcome to episode 4 of Broish. Two brothers talking Notre Dame football.
Monday night beer.
Let me just say this right off the bat. Fuck you, YouTube. Fuck you. And I say that because for some goddamn reason, they decided to change their policies, and now they're just, they're flagging everybody. It's not really flagging. They're just basically saying that you can't monetize because they don't know what your channel is. Well, if I have 17,000 freaking subscribers, does it really matter? I don't know. I don't get it. It has me in a mood. It has me in a mood because I appealed the process. I made a whole video, and with less than 12 hours, they responded by saying, oh, yeah, you didn't really explain your editing process, so you're going to have to reapply. And you can't do that until December 3rd. All right. Whatever, YouTube. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Huh.
Anyways, so I deleted all the Broish episodes off of there, and I'm going to start over. Maybe a Broish channel and start from the ground up.
Why? What do you think that's going to accomplish?
Nothing. I mean, if we get some fans, maybe, but again... Sure. I'm going to keep everything clean. No more highlights. We're just going to talk Notre Dame football, and it's just going to be you and I on the camera. And that might be boring as hell, just like this. Oh, you know what? Did that play? Did you hear anything?
I did. I'm here. Sorry.
Oh.
I was just checking the wire. I see that Aaron Rodgers just broke his vagina.
Yep. Oh, good. He's 38 years old and needs to retire. And then I can dump him off my bench. All right, let's talk. First of all, before we even get into Notre Dame football, big news in college football world: Michigan State. They didn't really fire their coach; they suspended him because of sexual harassment allegations.
Barstool for misreporting that.
I think a lot of them did. Actually, there's a lot of and you know what the thing is that I think he is fired. It's pretty much a done deal. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think you're going to see much of this. But anyways, let's talk about why he was suspended. It was the fact that he, because of sexual harassment charges on a woman. Doing
inappropriate things on the telephone, really.
Yeah, but the person in question was she worked for a nonprofit, and she was a victim of sexual, of a rape. Of a gangbang at when she was attending Oregon State.
Duke?
And,
okay.
Yeah. And then so she had a nonprofit basically talking to football teams about awareness of sexual harassment. And then this happens. So
it's like robbing a police officer when he's walking down the street in full uniform. It's like
I just don't get it. I don't get why somebody who's making a $95 million contract, why you would risk all of that money, all of that, because now they can fire him with costs and say bye-bye. I think he still had like $80 million on his contract. So bye-bye, $80 million.
Conspiracy theory. Maybe they really wanted to fire him and were just looking for a real good excuse.
And I've heard that excuse. I've heard that as well. And all they needed was cause to get rid of him. He didn't really have a great first year. So I don't know. Maybe there's somebody else out there that they're looking at. And why spend $80 million at Michigan State? It was Matt Ishbia and some other elite alumni who was forking that money over. Boosters to pay his contract. Whatever. Good luck, Spartans. I wish you all the best. It just sucks that you have to start basically your season. Now you're only 2 games in, and you have to go the rest of the season. But I heard that Mark D'Antonio is going to step in some kind of role and help out. So that'll.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that'll, and a lot of the alumni and students and fans are definitely appreciative because he's kind of stuck around the university after he retired. and obviously he's really good friends with Tom Izzo. So yeah. So anyways, enough of that. Good luck, Spartans. Let's talk Notre Dame football. They were in Raleigh, North Carolina this weekend, playing North Carolina State.
They had a rally in Raleigh.
A rally in Raleigh, and it was a noon kickoff, and there were a lot of storms in the area. So this one only got inches into the second quarter before it was suspended, just like Tucker, for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Yep.
And it was probably the best thing ever for Notre Dame, because Notre Dame was having a hard time moving the ball right off the bat. They were getting stuffed left and right. And it almost reminded me a lot of Tommy Rees's old offense. Run middle, run middle, run middle. And I was like, why? It's not working. Please do something else. And they did. And they actually adjusted. And they actually gave Jadarian Price the ball. And I think he has a little more speed than Audric Estime. And he was able to get the ball around the corner a few times. And then the rain and lightning hit. And the Notre Dame players went back to the locker room. They couldn't change. They could not change. They didn't have any food, so they actually had to go to the concession stand to buy brats and hot dogs. And they gave one brat to Audric Estime, and he came out the first play of the set.
Wait. Is this fact? Yeah. He did have a brat?
No, hot dog. He had
one
hot dog. Yeah, during they had a breakdown of who ate what or whatever, just a brief one. But they said Coach Freeman had 0. They had Audric had 1, I think, and I don't think Hartman had any, but all it took was one good hot dog, and Audric Estime came out and he ran the first play from that suspension. He ran 80-yard. It was a freaking fantastic run.
I'll tell you what though, that was a good run. I just went back and watched it before the show started, and if you have an hour and 40 minutes to run one play, to prepare for one play after seeing that much of the other team's portfolio, basically the whole first quarter, that's cool that they were able to break. I'm guessing they broke video down and stuff and took a look at that. But with that being said, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. Take that 80-yard run away, and Estime only had 54 yards rushing. So,
sorry, he only had what?
54 yards rushing
for the whole game.
Yeah, minus that. Take that 80.
Oh, you take the 80-yard right? Yeah,
the 80-yard reception, and he only had 54 yards rushing. So I wanted to go back too, because I thought that the North Carolina State team came out kind of sluggish after that big break, and I went back and looked, and you can tell it was a drawn-up play. They pulled the right guard over to block, and then the tight end, I think it was the tight end, came around on the end, the left end, and came around and blocked the other guy and basically set up a little hole. And then Estime ran right away from, I think, the safety on the left side that was coming at him. And actually, he was going to tackle him, but Estime didn't even get a stiff arm on him before he finally pulled away. And just smart, it was just wide open the rest of the way, just kind of avoiding traffic at that point.
Did you see who almost caught him at the end zone?
No.
Tobias Merriweather.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was actually all the way to the goal line. He sprinted, and he was about ready to, like, it looked like he could have tackled.
Oh yeah.
None of the North Carolina State players could actually keep up with Estime, which is incredible that they don't have anybody in their secondary that actually could keep up with Estime, who was like 237. So
big boy.
Shows you how fast that guy is.
170 yards total rushing, so the rest of the team really didn't do much. You mentioned Jadarian Price, 31 yards rushing on 7 carries. He had a long of 11, so he was getting a little bit more. And Estime is rushing good, so I think an overall good rushing performance. I still don't know. That does tell us a little bit more. We've been waiting for this normal kind of offense out of a Division I school, and there it was. This week's, I don't want to get too far into that, but I don't think that's going to be much of a telltale sign. This 2 weeks is what we're really going to see, where we're going to see the pavement hits the road, or whatever that saying is.
Well, I definitely think Notre Dame got tested, and were they prepared to an extent? I thought, I thought their defense, their secondary, played phenomenal. They had 3 interceptions. Safeties. Yeah, and any corners, right? Or no? I know that who had Henderson had one. DJ Brown had one. There was who was the other one? Oh, and Morrison, and who was the king of interceptions last year as a freshman. So I think he's a freshman All-American
Yeah.
in preseason. So
Yeah, the
Yeah.
safeties looked great. I think
that coverage,
specifically.
you remember that play? That coverage on the sideline was extraordinary. The fact that like he was watching that ball the entire time. He wasn't watching the defender.
I have been waiting for that type of player since Charlie Weiss. I mean, if you're gonna be a cornerback or even a safety for that matter, as soon as the ball leaves, I've always said, as soon as the ball leaves the quarterback's hands, it's free game. And now, yeah, the wide receiver is probably going to get the benefit of some pushing around on the body and stuff like that. But when that ball goes up in the air, that cornerback should be looking for it as well and keeping his eyes on it. And that was textbook.
Yeah, very much so. I thought the defensive line played pretty well. Now, Brennan Armstrong, he's known for his ability to get out of the pocket and run a little bit. He played for Virginia. He was actually in this whole mess of like fifth year, 6th year quarterbacks or whatever that were looking to transfer. And at first, I thought Notre Dame might have had a shot at him, and he ended up going to North Carolina State and playing for the Wolfpack. I didn't think he did bad, but in the second half, I mean, he was just pressured nonstop, and I thought we did a great job again. Al Golden drew up another great defensive plan, and in the second half, it was pretty much after that Hartman fumble. A few minutes after that, I think it was late in the third quarter, and then they finally just took off from there. And who's Holden? Is it Holden Stays, our tight end? Had some great grabs. That one catch he had, and where the defender hit him in the hip, and he was able to stay in bounds, which I don't know how he was able to do. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like the guy hit him.
Physics all of a sudden went offline and didn't.
Right. It's exactly what happened, because he barely even moved. And I mean,
right.
Somebody like you and I would have been knocked off kilter, and we would have been out of bounds easily. And he was able to stay in bounds and actually run another 10 or 15 yards more for a touchdown. And he got a few catches that he had. He reminds me a little bit, but he's a little bit bigger, and he's not as nimble, but a little bit kind of like Tommy Tremble, I think, in a sense. He's got great hands, and he's a little awkward with looking over his shoulder and trying to catch that ball, that one long ball that he had. It seemed a little odd the way he kind of was like kind of trying to reach over his shoulder. I thought they should have utilized Chris Tyree a little bit more, even though that one play where he got all his yards, that was almost a busted play because the defender pushed him out of bounds, but somehow he snuck his way back and got ahead of the defender, and he was wide open.
Yeah, but here's the thing. How many years have we heard them talking about his speed, and he did not look fast at all? Well, he looked average.
I thought he looked a little timid when once he was that wide open. I think he looked a little timid because he didn't really know what to do. Yes, exactly.
He should have cut. Oh, he saw the two guys coming overhead and the angle on him. He should have immediately turned like towards them to run perpendicular to him to throw him off, and then maybe come back to throw him off their game a little bit. But he just kept running down the field, and
I think he kind of turned into the field a little bit. And I wish, and to me is, I think you get the most yards by staying on the flats, right? If you just keep running straight, and if you would have kept running straight, just run out of bounds, don't risk injury, and just because they slammed him. Did you see that tackle? They basically body slammed him when they got a hold of him.
The Irish receivers had 23 targets, 15 receptions for 286 yards. 186 of those yards was yards after catch. That's impressive.
And the most was Holden Stays, correct? Was he?
Stays had the most yards after catch, 54.
54. What about total yards?
Total yards, 286.
286, and what did Holden
100
Stays
yards
have? What do you have, buddy? He had over 100, correct?
He had 115, yeah.
115. That's pretty good. Pretty good for a tight end. And now I don't. Go ahead.
Well, if you, it's actually kind of interesting to look at these stats compared to North Carolina State. If you take away Estime's 80-yard run, The total number of net yards on this was 90 rushing yards total by Irish, 84 by North Carolina State, so almost even. And same on receiving. Receiving, they had 286 yards receiving. North Carolina State had 260. So pretty even game, and Notre Dame still came out on top. The problem is here's the deal. Notre Dame, how many times did they have the short field after a turnover or something? So
Right,
I think
a lot.
a couple times they were on the on North Carolina State's end when they got the ball. So
Yeah, and I thought Hartman looked a little rattled. I mean, now the fans, I don't know if you noticed, right off the top, I mean, right off the get-go, the fans were just, I mean, it was loud. You could just tell by watching it on TV, it was loud. And I
Yeah.
think that rattled Hartman a little bit. He hasn't faced that. I mean, went to Ireland, home field advantage. He went to, and then he's at South Bend, home field advantage. And then you got to come into a place like North Carolina State, who's kind of had his number over
and
his
Notre Dame's.
Yeah, and Notre Dame's, and they definitely had his number again, and got a few sacks on him. I thought he should have got rid of that ball and that fumble in the third quarter. I thought that he held on to it too long. It was trying to find an open guy, and he needs to learn that when he's in trouble like that there should be a count. You just get rid of the ball and just toss it out of bounds.
You just used a term that you don't use with a fifth-year quarterback. Learn. He should have learned that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. There was at least 2 times where I thought I think that if I remember right, there were 2 times where he just, what are you doing, dude? You should have found him by now. Throw it out of bounds. Get rid of it. You're done. So,
yeah, and granted, I understand he's in a new offense, but that's just common knowledge, common sense, right? Man. To just get rid of that ball. And I thought he actually did get rid of the ball at one point, and he was outside of the tackle, so we still got flagged on one. I thought there was another play. Oh, going back to the touchdown. The first touchdown Notre Dame allowed this year was a pass to Brennan Armstrong. Great pass. However, if you looked at it, they were holding. I mean, like number 56 for and I forget his name. He was definitely held, and I couldn't find the right freeze frame, but somebody on Twitter had found it. He basically he underlocked his arm underneath his armpit like this and held him with his arm and then pulled him back. And as he was trying to make the play, because Armstrong then kind of slid out of the pocket, and he tried to kind of keep up with him, but the guy's arm was underneath him, and he pulled him back, and he fell on his ass. I mean, and just
you said 56 on North Carolina State.
That's Cross. No,
that's Cross on. Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that like there was a lot of calls. There were a lot of calls. I mean, Notre Dame had over 10 penalties, most in the third quarter. There was just nonstop. Some of them were stupid plays. I saw some pushing. I saw some shoving throughout the game, back and forth. And then who was it? Benjamin Morrison had that one where he just kind of hit the guy in the helmet, and you can't do that. You're going to get flagged every single time. And there was some other there was another play, that the hit to the head, and I forgot who had that. Notre Dame to Armstrong's head. Another 15-yard penalty. So there was, and now luckily they didn't produce. I don't think they produced any points off of those. However, it's just stupid plays, and you can't have them, and you got to clean that stuff up, especially when you have 2 weeks until you got to play Ohio State. I mean, you got an easy one coming up right now. You got 2 home games. One of them is going to be your alma mater, a pretty easy game. Actually, I think ESPN is they're basically predicting Notre Dame with a 98.6% chance of winning over Central Michigan, who has a 1.4 chance.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So it's a nice little warm up game, but again, I don't know. They got to learn a lot from this game, because it's going to be a tough matchup with Ohio State. Even though Ohio State is kind of having a little bit of not a productive year. I mean, they're still undefeated, and they're still obviously in the top 10, but they're not. They don't look as good as when they had like C.J. Stroud and other top receivers. So
it's all about quarterbacks. I mean, we're seeing that with Clemson, right? The last 2 real good Clemson teams had Deshaun Watson and long-haired dude that plays for Jacksonville now, whatever his name is.
And Alabama's having the same trouble too. I mean, even though this, I don't know if you watched that game against Texas and Alabama, but it was just a back and forth, no defense, and then then Texas was able to pull it out. And again, we find ourselves kind of early in the season with Alabama, like, oh, maybe they're not going to make the playoffs. Well, hold your tongue, because they usually end up they end up making the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to make it this year with their quarterback situation, though.
Well, the one thing I want to point out last week too, in last week's show, is that preseason, everyone was looking at Notre Dame's schedule and they had circled Ohio State, Clemson, and USC. And now, by the time we get to those games, they're not, the only one that's actually looking still like that's going to help elevate them in the rankings if they win is USC. Now, Duke is starting to come on after the win against Clemson. So
actually, Duke is looking
there.
They're looking more of a threat than Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh played this past weekend and they looked like crap. Jerkovic, who's like on his third team now, he's Notre Dame and then Boston College and now Pittsburgh, and he got ripped on Twitter just for his decision making. Like he's just a terrible quarterback.
It's too bad. It's too bad Notre Dame doesn't play Florida State too this year. That would be the epitome.
That would be a tough game.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, we should probably ask Clemson, hey, can we just play you next year and we'll take Florida State this year? Because they're going to help us more if we beat them than what you guys are.
Right.
I don't think Clemson's not going to be in the top 25 probably by October. They keep playing the way they're playing.
November 4th is when they play.
So, other key takeaways. I'm trying to think of anything else. The special teams, our field goal kicker. I was going to say, we can't forget about him. Guy from South Florida. You got his name right there because I keep forgetting it.
Spencer Schrader.
Spencer Schrader hit a 54-yard, broke the record, right? Broke the record?
Don't know. He did miss a 56-yarder right after that, though.
No, okay. But it hit the upright. Yeah. So, hey, Marcus Freeman said that's the best field goal kicker that he's ever seen ever. So that's saying something as well. So, man, that's going to help us out in games if he can kick 50-yarder, especially against like an Ohio State where the game might be close and we got to kick a 50-yarder in the third quarter. Yeah, I'll take that every single day, man, if he's got legs.
Right.
So, return game pretty much non-existent. I mean, I don't know when we're going to I don't know if it's just where they kick the ball off now, where it's just, obviously, it's always a touchback. Or I think actually, we did run the ball. We did run the ball out of from the end zone one time and got it to the 25 once.
24, yeah. Good job. Yeah, we had 2 returns by Price. Total 45 yards. They do have Benjamin Morrison. Oh, they have him listed on here because it's also the interception statistic box. So I was like, why do they have Benjamin Morrison and Xavier Watts and DJ Brown listed here? But they're all the people who got interceptions. So
no, Jadarian Price, I love him on kickoff returns. I think he should actually be the punt returner, and it's Chris Tyree. And Chris Tyree, listen, he can catch the ball. I tell you that.
Yeah.
But he's not running it out though, and it's a fair catch every time. So I don't know.
That's Tyree. I'm glad he's on the team still, I suppose. But to me, he's still some of that. He still reminds me of that Brian Kelly era. So and Tommy Reese era. So it's like, let's just let him get through this year, get him out of there, and then we'll get some new blood in there. So I'm still concerns I still have with the team. I think the defense is doing great. I'm still worried about the scrambling quarterback, which is really going to hit us up for the Duke and USC games. Believe it or not, the Duke quarterback is known to have some legs. He doesn't look like it because he's just a big white dude, but he's got some speed. Not really agility as much as speed, smartness, and running. And then obviously USC, Caleb Williams. I really just want him to. I don't know. I kind of want to just see him cry again with his stupid fuck ND nail polish that he did last year. So.
Before we get into playing Central Michigan, I don't know what to preview for this game because it's basically a throwaway game. Let's talk about. Yeah, it's a.
Is it on Peacock?
Oh yeah, that's right. Dad said you're gonna have to buy Peacock. Do you already, or
Oh,
unless
I
you
got
already
it.
have it?
No,
Oh,
we're
you
good.
got it.
We're good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're
All
good.
right, good.
Yeah, we're good.
And that's gonna be the annual, family get together. All the guys in our family are gonna get together at Clutch's house, and we're going to try to actually do a live post game. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to try a live post game show. If it works, it doesn't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's go back to yesterday.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams finally getting a little bit of some carries, and actually had two great touchdown runs in the red zone, but still played pretty well. He's partnered up with what's the other running back that the Rams have? Akers, Cam Akers. Yeah. So both those guys, they're kind of a dual threat. They're kind of small running backs, but I mean, Kyron looked great. He looks really good.
I'm pulling up stats right. I saw he got a touchdown. They mispronounced his name on Fox, but
What'd they say?
Did he just have a couple runs? That's it.
Did they call him Kylo?
Kylo Ren or something like that. Yeah. Star Wars.
Other news that we really didn't talk about. I don't think. Actually, did it hit this week that Kyle Rudolph, tight end, once for the Minnesota Vikings, and then again for with Tampa Bay. He ended up retiring after I think 13 seasons.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So he had a great long career. I actually remember that 98-yard touchdown catch he had against Michigan. I don't know what year it was, but you and me and Bruce were at that game. That was where I almost got kicked out.
Oh,
yeah. Because remember, I was cheering, and the people in front of me were like,
they didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
We are locals to the University of Notre Dame, but sometimes you get some.
Well, we were in the Michigan section. That's our one of our problems was I got 4 tickets in the Michigan section, and that's what killed us.
Part of it was that I was yelling outside. I was yelling over the top of the stadium out on the floor, people out on the ground too. That probably didn't help. That was happening at the same time.
So what did I do? I shut my mouth just like the officer told me to do. And then every single time Notre Dame, and they ended up losing that game, but every single time they made a great play, and I'm a loud clapper, and I was just clapping right in her ear. I know it's such an asshole move, but I don't know. I just feel like sometimes things can be talked out without, going to the authorities and basically making chaos.
It all happens all the time with Michigan. I was at a Michigan game in the Michigan section one year, and I dropped an F-bomb, and the guy got in my face, turned around and got in my face and said, "Listen, my kid's here. I'd appreciate you not," but he's yelling at me that you wouldn't cuss. I was only with other Michigan fans. I was the only Notre Dame fan that was there. So I'm like, all right, I'll bite him on enemy turf. What happens? A few plays later, the guy on the side of him, not with him, starts cussing just as bad as I did, and he didn't say shit to him. And I'm like, I almost wanted to elbow him and go, "Dude," but
you're a hypocrite.
You just kind of tuck your tail in between your legs and.
All right, we got about a minute and a half left. I'm looking at the breakdown of the season leaders between for Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Central Michigan. What do you guys call yourselves?
The modern era chips.
Oh yeah,
like buffalo chips on the ground.
Yeah.
Back when I went to school there, they were the Chippewas.
Now they're just the chips?
They're just the chips now because they felt like they needed to change their name because of the...
yeah, that's right. I did not know that.
Isabella, I think, Indian tribe. I'm going to screw that up. I apologize if I did. Or Chippewa Nation. Duh.
Oh, yeah.
Chippewa Nation said, "No, you're good. You can call us the Chippewas," and they kept it chips. And I thought it was stupid. They also used to say we couldn't do the tomahawk chop. And if you did, you got kicked out of the game. So that sucked too, because I was like, really? I'm like, come on.
All right, quick prediction. We got about 45 seconds left. I'm just gonna say this right now. It looks like their quarterback has got about 280 yards in the first couple of games, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Their running back, not too many, 142 yards on 38 carries, 2 touchdowns. Best receiver, 5 receptions, 142 yards and a touchdown. Against probably nobody. Clutch, what are your predictions for this weekend?
My predictions, I'd like to see the Notre Dame Irish running attack eclipse 200 yards rushing this game. Maybe even have somebody pushing the 150 mark, kind of like we did this last game with Esteve. Hartman, I'd like to see him not turn the ball over. That'd be a great one. And I'll say prediction on the score. I'm going to say I'm going to keep it in the 40s. So I'm going to say a good 45-10.
Okay, and I'm going to go in the 50s again, and I'm going to keep this one at 56-3. And and we have one more last thing is because you've actually said all these things that you wanted to see. Why don't you tell Alexa what you want to see as well?
I don't know. I just tell her that about.
Tell her one thing. Tell her one of those things that you just
tell
said.
her one thing. All right, hold on a second here. Hey Alexa, put Bruce not injuring himself this weekend on my shopping list.
That's a good one.
Well, Alexa was a little low on that, but she got it.
She got it good. All right, we'll have to look at that or listen to that as the season ends to all our predictions, and I think that one is going to be a prediction that'll come true. Anyways, everyone, Clutch, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Broish, two brothers talking Notre Dame football, and go Irish.
Go Irish.